following program is available in high definition on Channel 700. This program is designed and produced by the community with the support of TV Kojiko.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Council Matters. This is a show where we look at the issues and opportunities facing the town of Oakville with a panel of residents and then consider what they say with a panel of members of council. It's a little miniature of how council actually works in the larger sense of the entire town. And joining us today are Roy Kao, who is a business consultant and startup advisor and the head of Elja Advisors, Jeff Zabudsky, who's the president of Sheridan Sheridan College, but someday it will be a university, right, Jeff? Absolutely. And David Luciani, who's the president of Min-Chem, which is a very successful and long-established company here in Oakville. And today, the theme that I wanted to explore is how can the town, if the town can, how can the town help Oakville businesses get out more, which is the phrase I use to describe develop exports, develop markets, get out and make partnerships around the world. I've been saying for several years now, almost 8 years, that we can't maintain our prosperity by staying home. We've got to grow. And Jeff, you've been very active in trying to grow Sheridan. Give us a sense of how the town has been or could help you.
Well, we have seen from recruiting students from around the world over the last few years, we've seen a marvelous and incredible increase in interest in Sheridan programming from international students from around the world, to the point where just a few years ago we had 500 visa students traveling here from all parts of the world, to this year where we're close to 4,000 international students from all around. And one of the things that has driven that has been the growth of the Chinese market and the interest on the part of Chinese families to send their students somewhere for an international educational experience. And that's a perfect example of how a community, how a municipal government and the municipal staff can help an institution like ours to grow and to build new markets. Because economic development in Oakville, the town of Oakville, has been an incredible supporter of ours in receiving delegations from China here to the community, showing them all that Oakville has to offer, but also traveling with us to other parts of the world, in particular in China, to show the support of the community for our venture into China. So we have seen in the last year an explosion of interest, over 1,000 applications this year from China. And I know that I can point directly to our willingness to receive delegations from China, as well as our presence in other parts of the world. And the Mayor, you'll know yourself, we very much appreciate your presence. It makes a difference in countries like that, where the municipal leadership, in particular mayors, are present in places like China to show support. And so, as you will know, you were there to be able to sign some agreements with us that are now reaping rewards in having those students come and study with us.
I was amazed, actually, at how much more powerful Chinese mayors are than North American mayors.
Much more than college presidents.
and how much they assumed that we were like them. And so, you allowed me to understand why they wanted the Canadian mayor to be there. But I didn't know how to tell them, gosh, in Canada, a mayor has one vote. So it's probably a good thing I didn't tell them.
Probably whatever you did, it worked out very well for us, because the partnerships are flourishing, and the relationships are growing, and the students are here and they're studying and they're taking the great news of the opportunities to do business here in Oakville back to their home communities. It's wonderful.
Well, we have more than a dozen high-end and very well-known, private schools before you get to college or university, and they too are seeing this phenomenon. David, you've been active. You were a pioneer in leading your business to go to China. And you know, you tell a great story about how you decided to do it. Would you share some of that with us?
Well, it dates back to the mid-90s, and we would go to China with, in most cases, with a trading broker. And the trading broker had experience with those factories. And after a couple of years of doing that, I realized that I think we should fly solo. So back in 2001, I made all my appointments via the internet and through email, and I went for 21 days. And that was my first time going on my own with nobody with me. And we just started visiting factories, you know, as far north as Beijing and as far south as a small town called Kunming, just north of Vietnam. And it was amazing, the people, the business owners, how receptive they were to a Canadian coming to visit on his own. And they just were so open-armed and welcomed. They made you feel so welcome to have an interest in their business. And you know, from executive lunches and executive dinners and the whole lifestyle, it was really learning about those people as individuals first, getting them to know me and me to know them, and building that old traditional way of trust, which was really just a wonderful experience.
So now, did you find that there was enough comprehension of English that you could do that going alone?
Yeah, most of the factories have an interpreter, and you know, but they were so keen back then, and they continue being keen to want to know about you as a human being, as where you live, about your family, about your lifestyle. And these were all, you know, in the early 2000s, they were gentlemen and women who were middle-aged. But as I started to continue to go, you know, through the mid-2000s and into the late into 2010, these were young 35, 40-year-old entrepreneurs who really just, they wanted to succeed. They have a deep desire to be successful, and they know that the North American market for them is important to export to. And to us, the benefit at the time was we were importing from these people, and it was a wonderful experience.
So Roy, David showed me proudly the sort of worn and tattered map that he guided himself with, and he keeps it as kind of a keepsake souvenir, and it is an extraordinary. It's like from another era, from my dad's era. It's like a boy's own adventure almost. The way he talks about that first trip. What's your sense of the way this works? Was David extraordinarily lucky, or was he right? When I first became interested in promoting the idea that we should, you know, get out more, and especially look at China because it's such a huge economy, the prevailing wisdom that I heard was that you had to have, you know, you had to have go-betweens. You had to have friends to make friends. And David's example is really an archetypical entrepreneurial kind of story, and I guess it's entrepreneur to entrepreneur clicked. But what's your sense? What's the best way to go?
I think David actually did it the right way. You know, one of the things I always advise companies when looking at China as a market, as a partner, as a potential place for investment, is to put your feet on the ground. Because more than once I have heard from delegations who travel to China and entrepreneurs and business people who come back with more questions than answers because of the sheer size, and they were more in awe and gawking around the country than realizing the market potential for them. So I applaud David, in fact, for taking that step. But having the go-between and the agent is not mutually exclusive to David's methods, because David was willing to make that first step on the ground, and the Chinese business community really appreciates that. A handshake is worth more than 100 emails in the Chinese way of doing business. So, but having a cultural attaché, or for companies who are more mature to establish a official presence in the country or in the cities that dealing business with, would advance those purposes with far greater results, given the bridge that would be go between both the cultural and the business gap, which exists, as well as the language gap, which do exist, which needs a little translation in the process.
Mm-hmm. So, Jeff, when we were in China, you were looking at creating branches, I would, to simplify, branches of Sheridan in different parts of China. And I can understand how that would be officials, and the official to official thing made sense as why we were doing it that way. And I could see how they might want to take a while to be sure about us, and we of them, for that matter. But what we're hearing on the business side is that it's very different from the government to government side. Is that your sense? Because you've been going to China now for a long time.
Yeah, quite a few times. Quite a few visits that I've had in different parts of China. I think it's a bit of both. You're building relationships with institutions, where it is so important that you boots on the ground. You're building relationships. You're shaking hands. You're getting to know each other. There's travel back and forth between faculty. So faculty will go to China. Faculty from China will come here. In fact, we will have this next month 25 faculty members coming from the Chengdu University of Information Technology, where you visited, to be with us to do some faculty training. So it is institution to institution building relationships. However, it's also very important that we bring the local governments into the conversation as well, because they can help clear the way for us, help to get documents signed. So it's a little bit of both. When you're there, you're developing the relationship with the business partner, but you're also paying visits to the mayor, the municipal leadership, which, as you've noted, is very important there. So in our world, you need those policy supports that come from the governments, as well as the on-the-ground relationships with the post-secondary institutions that you're partnering with.
Yeah, it struck me that the official they call a mayor is a much bigger job than what we have here. Their mayors appear to be involved in the awarding of financial assistance that here in Canada really only happens at the federal level or the provincial level. But one of the greatest dividends of helping you in China has been some of the business people that we met have come back to Oakville and are now looking at investing here and establishing branches of their businesses here. And that's been very exciting. Nothing I can announce yet, but it's so tantalizing. You want to start bragging because you feel like they noticed us.
It's so true. And that's what our students are doing when they come here. They're becoming ambassadors for our communities in many different parts of the world. And they're going back and they're talking to people that they know who are then considering investments back in our communities here.
So now we only have a minute left, but we did a forum to try to promote trade with China, business with China. Should we do that regularly? I'm very aware that there's 200,000 people in Oakville, and if you have 1,000 people at a forum to hear it, it's great that 1,000 people heard something, but 199,000 didn't. Do we need to keep doing that?
I definitely think so, because Oakville, I think, plays an integral role in this immediate area, given our advantages of being close to the U.S. border, having transportation advantages, as well as higher education advantages, from served by Sheridan, U of T, as on as far away as University of Waterloo. We definitely need to continue to do that, and also to leverage our partnerships at the regional level, at the provincial level, and the federal level, because, as you mentioned, a Chinese mayor would have certain powers beyond what we consider to be common in our administrative lines, that we need to break down those barriers and help break down those barriers in order to move the process along in a streamlined manner.
Well, thank you very much. I think you've just had the last word, and we're out of time. Thank you very much for joining us on Council Matters. still being with us. We're now joined, we're going to redo that.
Okay.
Welcome back. We're joined now by three members of Oakville Council. Tom Adams, who is the Town and Regional Councillor for the northeast part of Oakville, Ward 6 if you go by numbers. Cathy Duddeck, who is the Town and Regional Councillor for South Central Oakville, Ward 2 in the number form. And Jeff Knoll, who is the Town and Regional Councillor for the North Central part of Oakville. And welcome, thanks for joining us. Jeff, I think you might be about to be the leader of the largest ward as the population north of Dundas goes, right?
That's absolutely right. It's growing daily.
You're going to take the title from the west. So what did you think as you heard the panel talk about how we can help our businesses in Oakville grow internationally?
Well, first of all, I mean, I'm very excited by the prospect and very excited by what we've done as a town and what you've done under your leadership, actually going to China and talking to our friends over there about the possibility of trade opportunities and business opportunities. And also the partnerships with Sheridan, I'm very enthusiastic about, another Ward 5 resident, I may add. So I think it's a tremendous opportunity for our community, and I'm really looking forward to it. By adding so many people to our community, we need to offer more jobs and more opportunities for businesses, so this is a perfect synergy.
Yeah, Cathy, you heard the panelists earlier talk about the China Trade Forum that we put on, and they thought it was worth doing annually. Was that something that you think we should be doing?
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. I think anytime you provide outreach to, whether it be China, whether it be the US, Europe, anything of that nature, reaching out to our global partners is always worthwhile. And then having them come back to our community and seeing firsthand all the things we've been speaking about while on the visit in their country.
Tom, one of the things I've been struck by, and it's true across all the wards, is the vast number of languages represented in Oakville.
Oh yes, absolutely, and it's one of our strengths. When I go out and I knock on every door in the ward, it's like the United Nations, and we've got, as you said, every language under the sun available to us, and it's one of the strengths that lets us go back out to those international communities and build business networks. And in fact, locally we're working on now a Chinese business association to help us with that kind of international trade and work. And in fact, the economic development report that we've got just from this past year, it outlines some of the work, for instance, that you were involved with in building the trade network with China, amongst other places. And so to an extent we can get out and do those things ourselves to help with the local businesses build those networks. That's great, but we also have to build our own internal strength locally as a place of innovation. And that's another area that we've been working on. This year we're working on a Innovation Awards program to help bolster our reputation in that area, and we already have a strong reputation from places like Sheridan that you just heard from.
Now, we have, on a population basis, about 4% of Oakville's population is Chinese. And certainly we've focused on China because it's by far and away the most dynamic global economy out there in the globe, and certainly we want to be part of their amazing growth. I mean, basically they're growing cities like there's no tomorrow, and cities are a huge absorber of economic inputs. Lots of opportunity for us there. But we also, just by coincidence, have 4% of our population from South Asia, so India and its neighbors. And that too is a really burgeoning economy. And I don't want I don't think we should ignore that opportunity either. And so how would you feel if we enlarged our global interests and started looking at South Asia as well? Jeff?
Well, I think we should be looking at all of the opportunities that exist on the other side of the planet. China is obviously a very big component, but the Pacific Rim, Southeast Asia are also extremely important to our economic development. I am so proud of what we've done as a council and our staff in terms of developing outreach programs for economic development internationally, finally, which is wonderful. And there's absolutely no reason why we can't learn from our successes as we market to China and turn those into business strategies for the Pacific Rim and for Southeast Asia. It's absolutely, I think, critical and a wonderful opportunity for our community.
So, would you agree, Cathy? I mean, should I be asking economic development to develop explorations to India?
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. And you only have to look at the cross-section of students that are coming not only to Sheridan, but to Appleby College, other private schools in our community who have a wide range of different students representing different cultures. We need to do more of that. We need to provide outreach as much as possible, not only to educate them, but to educate ourselves as to the needs that happen on the global network.
So we have an interest in expanding our business with the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. The rest of the world speaks their own languages. Mm-hmm. I'm proud of the fact that at the town and the region we have the ability to speak to people in 130 or 150 different languages. Some days I marvel that there are so many, and Lord help me learn mine. What can we do to help make it more attractive for these folks to invest here? What's your sense of the best attractor? Is our best attractor the same one we use domestically, i.e. just be the most livable place in Canada?
I think that has to be one of the key ones because, again, as people in previous programs have mentioned, it's providing not only the economic, the business environment, but where you want to have your family located. You want to be able to provide your own family the best of whether it be education, opportunity, geographic location, all of those things go together, plus a nice community, a good community.
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned that because you may recall a few weeks ago I was meeting with a group of Chinese business people that were interested in coming to Oakville, and you very graciously came in and met with them. One of the things that really stood out to them was that a lot of Chinese business people, in particular, tend to focus on their businesses and even where they want to live and locate in northern GTA, Vaughan, Markham, places like that. And one of the comments that they made was that Oakville was such a wonderful opportunity for their families to basically enjoy a different culture instead of simply going from the Chinese culture in their own homeland to a Chinese culture essentially transplanted here. So I think that, like Cathy said and you've suggested, I think that continuing our strive to be the most livable community in Canada and potentially the world is the absolute #1 ingredient to make this happen.
There's an interesting component too that we have to remind ourselves, and you mentioned that the region and the town, the various languages that are available to people to engage in their local and regional government. The region has had a diversity council, which I've been fortunate enough to chair, and it's one where we educate ourselves in terms of the needs and the, the areas that we need to provide additional services for those people to feel comfortable coming to our area and educate, whether it be from a religious standpoint or food, things of that nature, things that we tend to take for granted.
Well, I do have a sincere personal sense that we're on the right path partly because during the recession, we were barely hit by it. We were barely touched by it, and that really tells you that you have a strong local economy. But the nicest thing there is about working with you and the other members of council is we have a group commitment, always looking to improve. The concept of continuous improvement has a very important place in how we work. And that's why I'm always asking, what can we do to make it better? And I do hope that as we go forward that you'll continue to kick out ideas for how we can improve. What are you hearing from your residents, Tom, in terms of how we can make business more attract more business?
Well, I think the discussion that you had earlier around making it a livable community is very important, and Cathy alluded to the same thing earlier. That is one of the attractors for that professional set, well-educated sets of individuals. And you were talking about being only slightly impacted by the recession, and if you look at the statistics now about who survived best in the recession, the people who survived best were the well-educated, skilled workforce of tomorrow. And that's what Oakville is. We've got a very heavy component of well-educated professionals who work in the IT fields and the technology fields and the engineering fields and the finance fields, all of which are things that are skills that we can export product and services out of Oakville from. And when we attract that kind of people to Oakville, we're helping to provide an export-oriented industry as well.
It's a place you really want to protect, eh? No wonder we fight so hard when we're threatened. So Jeff, how about you? What's your sense of our future in Oakville?
Well, I think our future is fantastic, particularly in green and high-tech industries. I think we're poised for some tremendous success on the horizon between our partnerships with Sheridan College, soon to be Sheridan University, some of the new industry that's already locating in Oakville. I think the future is bright. And our economic development strategy and our economic development team are first class. They're probably the best in the municipal sector, and I think we just have to keep doing what we're doing and make sure that we continue to invest our resources to increase our outreach and to increase our ability to be able to manage applications and new inquiries rapidly and with great sensitivity as they come forward. That will be, I think, in my mind, as a business person myself, that will be the hallmark of what makes us different than other communities. Because make no bones about it, we're competing with every GTA municipality, we're competing with New York State, we're competing with a lot of other jurisdictions, and the better we can be at extolling our virtues, creating a really positive quality of life, educational institutions for executive families, we're going to be right there at the top.
Well, thank you very much. That is a great last word, spoken like a real businessman. And I want to thank you for joining us to see how council matters.